ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, here with a review of the Figuarts X Cyclone from Kamen Rider the First. This rider machine rolled hot off the assembly lines at the HLJ garage. This is Kamen Rider Ichigo 1's main ride, and is also one of the only two Figuarts bikes to be released at mass retail, alongside the Hard Boilder. Let me tell you right up front, this thing turned out a lot better than the Hard Boilder. It's got paint everywhere. I don't feel that there are any key details missing. I don't feel there's any polish missing. This feels like a completed product. This feels like something that could have been sold on Tamashii Web as an exclusive. I'm very happy with the sculpting job they did on this thing, and the metallic red really makes that white shine around it. As far as action features go, this thing has a kickstand. It also has shock suspension. I'm trying to figure out whether or not all of the Figuarts EX bikes that they're making now, like new bikes for SH Figuarts, have some kind of common internal frame, because they all have the shock thing. I mean, it's not a hard thing to engineer in, but I'm curious. It also comes with an incredibly pointless stand. Aside from the fact that the kickstand works just fine, this stand more or less lets you have it sit there with the kickstand up. So instead of being slightly tilted, it's slightly upright. This feels a little bit pointless to me, I gotta be honest. Though I can see where it could come in handy with mass displays of riders on bikes and stuff. Also, the handlebars are removable. You get two sets of them. This set is a hard plastic pair of handlebars, and the alternate set are a softer plastic. Now, originally I thought that was just for durability things, like if you didn't want these ones to be potentially snapped when a rider is gripping them. But these softer ones are, in my opinion, slightly differently sculpted. If you look at two of them side by side, you might see that the softer one here, the silver grip, is slightly inwards, more so than the one on the left. I think this is to allow Kamen Rider 1 to grip it a little bit better with the hands he's supposed to grip these things with, something that I'll talk about later. And by later, I mean extremely soon. The only other thing really to point out is this thing does actually have a working turning axle that runs all the way up to the handlebars, so that's a very well done detail as well. The tires are this sort of hard. It feels like it could just be hard plastic, but has just enough bit of give to it to make me think it's just an incredibly hard rubber. And the gas cap is silver. So how do you get your rider to ride the thing? Well, basically put him in this position, you know, kind of like if he's riding a pretend air bike. Like, I'm Hongo! I'm totally the Kamen Rider! You want his type 1 hips to be, you know, downwards and then move the leg up, and point everything inwards a little bit. I pre-prepared him for this so that his heels would generally mount correctly onto their pedals, like thus. And then, this is the sort of disappointing bit. You have to use the rage hands to make him look like he's holding onto the handlebars properly, or at least vaguely properly. And I feel like I'm nitpicking when I say this, I admit, but this doesn't really work for me all that well. I really wish this bike had come with an extra set of hands for this guy so he could just grip those handlebars. Why? Because unlike Kamen Rider Black, unlike Black RX, unlike Agito, unlike nearly every other rider who has a bike, there are no possible gripping hands from another figure you can substitute in that will look right. And especially with this being a mass release figure, well, figure's vehicle, I'm really disappointed that there weren't any gripping hands in here. Especially when you get a somewhat superfluous stand and arguably superfluous extra handlebars. Like I said, this is really nitpicky, but it's easily the biggest mark against what's otherwise a really well done Figuarts bike, possibly the best bike they have released, in terms of the combination of its ease to purchase and overall delivery in comparison to the only other bike that was released at mass retail. If you want to have a Kamen Rider and bike pairing, this is probably the best one to go for if you're new to the line. This bike and rider right now are probably going to be easier to pick up at a decent price than any other combination. Rider machines are by their nature kind of hard to justify cost-wise, as really they don't do all that much for what you're paying for. They are a large accessory, bigger than the figure itself, but necessary if you do want to complete his full look and legitimize the latter half of his title. If you're going to base your Figuarts purchases on the bikes, then this is the way to go. I think the double figures look a little bit cooler, but the Hard Boilder really pales in comparison to the Cyclone. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus. Figuarts bikes are something that I still feel are in a bit of a learning curve stage. But if you're limited on funds and not picky on riders, this is probably the best bike to look for overall as of this recording. You know, Kamen Rider the First was a two-man show. It's only fair that we give a little bit of spotlight to Hongo Takeshi's brother, Injustice.